got the sound? It's off in the here. Wait, I don't want to see it. You want me to check it coming? I'll check.
Check. Check. Vishwa. 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 Vishwa.
No more testing.
Check. Hello. Hello. Check. 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 ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്. Check. Check. ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്. Check. Check. Hello. Hello. Check. Check.
Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to the C20 Technology and Security for One World Summit. We are delighted to have some of the most influential representatives from civil service organizations, civil society organizations, joining us today to share their insights on the latest advancements on technology security and transparency. We thank all the attendees for your participation in the proceedings over the next couple of days. Before we get into the session, I want to take a couple of minutes to provide a brief recap of what has been happening with our working group until now, with our efforts until now. So, if we can have the slides, please. So, this is a Civil 20 working group, as you are very well aware. And up until this year, the C20 has been focused primarily on digital economies and anti-corruption. This is the very first time since the inception of the G20 in 2008 that there has been a working group that has been established focused on technology, security, and transparency. So we're very happy about that. And what has been our process so far? We've been reaching out to many CSOs across the world, using policy questionnaires, asking for feedback, doing campaigns, sessions, etc. And we have had 30 plus virtual events up until now on interdisciplinary topics. And we have also had a few physical events as well, where attendees have come and participated and contributed. If you look at the participation from a CSO perspective, both in India and worldwide, it has been tremendous. You can see the range of the different countries that we have reached out to and where organizations have agreed to partner with us, participate, and it's been a great experience so far. And to give you a little bit more perspective, 90 countries across 6 continents have participated in our working group up until now. And this is not the end. It's only going to continue. Our partnership, our relationship, our collaboration is only going to continue. So we are very happy. We thank all the CSOs who have been very willing to partner with us, to work with us, to collaborate with us. And we are here to listen to them this morning. So, with that intro, let me give you the reason why we are here. The civil society organizations that we have here attending the summit, and others who have not been able to come as well, have displayed an unwavering commitment and dedication to drive vital initiatives to create better and more secure technology solutions that are accessible to everybody, to the common person. And today, a few of them will be presenting their Udhaharans. Now, Udhaharan is a Sanskrit word that means example or case study. And so these Udhaharans will showcase their effort towards creating a safer and more secure online world. Because as you very well know, almost all of us, if not everybody, is online these days. And we are excited to hear from them. And want to mention a couple of house rules. As you know, the inaugural function is about to start at around 10:15 a.m., for which we have to go to the Amrita Hall, one level below. And since the governor is a chief guest of that event, there are some security protocols that we have to follow. Due to that, we will be ending this session at 10 a.m. So we have about 45 minutes for this session. Due to that, and since there are 6 speakers, I kindly request the speakers to limit your sessions to a maximum of maybe 6 to 7 minutes. And if time permits, and if you want to get any questions from the audience, you can feel free to do so. But I'll be monitoring the time, and if you see me frantically waving from the side of the stage, it means it's time for you to wrap up, okay? With that, let me welcome the first speaker of this morning, Mr. Samir Patel. He is from the ORF Think Tank 20. Mr. Samir, welcome.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Ram Ganapati, for that kind introduction. I also want to thank Gilad and Dr. Krishnashree for inviting me to be part of this, the C20 Technologies and Security for One World Summit here in Coimbatore. The topic that I have is securing society in the cyber era. But just a little bit of background about myself. I'm not a technology person. I am from the arts and humanities, but been fortunate to be working on computers right from my teenage years, and that would be early 90s. So I work at the intersection of technology, national security, and foreign policy, primarily looking at the threats that India faces in the cyberspace, but as well as looking at the kind of policies which the government implements to secure cyberspace. So some of the things that I look at include the geopolitics of cyberspace and how nation states are pursuing their geopolitical rivalries in the cyberspace. I also look at the security of the critical infrastructure, the systems and services which need to be operational 24/7, 365 days a year. I also look at the use of cyberspace by terrorist organizations, because there are many global and regional extremist and terrorist organizations which are using the cyberspace and social media for propaganda, recruitment, and other kinds of terrorist activities. One of the related elements that I look at is darknet, the internet which you and me are not so familiar with, but that is, in a sense, constitutes almost 60 to 70% of the entire internet traffic. Again, the thriving black markets on the darknet and how they abate cybercrimes is something which interests me, and that is something which I think has not been done in the Indian cybersecurity policy analysis. And also looking at the cyber-enabled disinformation and fake news, because you know that you encounter that particular challenge every day when you are confronted with this challenge of whether to distinguish whether this is the real news or the fake news. I work for this organization called as the Observer Research Foundation, which is the topmost Indian think tank. We have been rated, we are the first Indian think tank to be featured in the global top 20 think tanks. That is according to the ranking from the University of Pennsylvania. We are the highest rated Indian think tank in the category of non-US, that is China, India, Japan, and South Korea. So the work that we do is that we bring in new ideas and policy discourse and provide a platform for a new generation of thinkers, and we provide non-partisan and independent analysis. One mission that we are particularly keen is to actually engage the younger audiences and engage the members of the civil society so that they can also be part of the entire policy discussions. And towards that, we run a program called as ORF Spark, which is basically igniting young minds and empowering young voices, which is basically our outreach to the academic institutions and the universities and colleges, primarily right now in Mumbai and Pune, where we look at the various policy issues. But given my area of expertise, I have been looking to discuss these issues of cyber hygiene and digital civics with the young kids, because we have 700 million internet users, and 2/3 of them are actually are the young generation internet users. And these users really do not have an understanding of how to secure themselves in the cyberspace. So there is that aspect of cyber hygiene, what to do and what not to do when it comes to cyberspace, but also, in a sense, be a responsible digital citizen. And that is why digital civics, just as the way we look at civics in schools, we learn about civics, about our fundamental duties and responsibilities. We are trying to tell the kids and the young generation that that you also have a responsibility in the cyberspace. Okay, that means even as you are securing yourself, it is your responsibility to also ensure that you are securing other users. That means not to reveal anyone's personal information, not to dox anyone, not to be engaging in cyberbullying. Okay, as well as in a sense ensuring that you are very courteous in your behavior, because just because you're sitting behind a screen does not mean that you are anonymous. You do have an identity, and your actions do have consequences in the real world. And in a sense, the COVID-19 pandemic has really changed our world, upended our world, because we have been forced to spend extra time on the digital screens. And therefore, I think the role of academic institutions becomes really important, and we are trying to do that through the ORF Spark. And interacting with the young generation of users actually throws up very interesting conversations, because you may think that these people don't know anything, but actually they are, I would say, at least 10 times more aware than you when it comes to cyberspace. So that is one aspect that we have been doing at the Observer Research Foundation. The other thing that we have been also doing is to work with one of the members of parliament to actually introduce a digital civics bill 2022 in the winter session of the parliament last year, where we worked with this particular member of parliament to mandate that the Ministry of Human Resources and Ministry of Education actually introduce a course on digital civics, make it mandatory in academic institutions all over India, which can engage the cybersecurity experts, and they can bring their expertise to the young generation of internet users. But even as we continue this work at the micro level, because we are a public policy institute, we also look at the macro level. And just as C20, we are also part of the T20 process, or the Think 20 process. Observer Research Foundation is the secretariat of the Think 20 process, and we have been engaging various think tanks, not just in India, but also other parts of the world. And as part of that particular process, we have 7 task forces. There are 2 task forces which relate to our subject. There is one task force which looks at digital public infrastructure, because India has been an early pioneer of the digital public infrastructure in terms of CoWIN app, in terms of India Stack, in terms of your UPI. And we want to take that experiment to the world. But also, there is another task force which looks at the reform of multilateral institutions. And within that, one theme that we are particularly looking at is emerging technologies and how they can be governed. So ransomware attacks is one such emerging challenge which combines cyber as well as some of the other emerging technologies. And that has emerged as a challenge not just for the countries as such, but also for the civil society, individuals, as well as the private sector. And cyber criminals and hacking syndicates have leveraged this ransomware to disrupt the functioning of the entire business systems. And that disruption, in a sense, is yielding them benefit, because many companies are actually forcing themselves to pay that ransom. And that, in a sense, that quick payment of ransom is sparking what is known as the ransomware as a service model, or what is called as RAS ecosystem, where basically you disrupt a computer network, you get money to restore that computer network, and you use that money to go on to commit the next criminal activity. And one of the things that we did was then look at how the G20 can counter this challenge of the ransomware. So we have 3 recommendations. One looking at utilizing the existing global counter-ransomware initiatives, because there are many countries led by the United States which are doing many things on countering the ransomware. There is something called as a counter-ransomware initiative, which the US is leading, and the G20 can support these strategies by promoting international cooperation, supporting law enforcement efforts, raising awareness, and promoting best practices, as well as developing international norms and standards for cybersecurity. The second recommendation that we're looking at is in terms of addressing the ransomware threats to building norms for responsible state behavior, because the states have the responsibility to ensure that cyberspace remains resilient, as well as ensuring that their territories are not used for any ransomware activity. So they have to take a commitment that their territories will not be used for any kind of subversive activity. The third is leveraging the potential of the Financial Security Board, because ransomware is directly affecting the digital economy. So the Financial Security Board and the National Computer Emergency Response Teams, or CERTs, can actually forge these coalitions for the global norms and standards pertaining to ransomware. And finally, addressing the need for a global normative and institutional order through for countering cybercrime, because one of the things that we often encounter in the geopolitics of cyberspace is a lack of an international cybersecurity agreement. So the G20 countries can actually come together to forge a G20 treaty on cybercrime, and that, in a sense, can actually pave the way for global cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samir. In my excitement to get started, I forgot to introduce myself. So you might be wondering who this person is. So let me do that right now. Take a couple of seconds. My name is Ram Ganapathy, and I'm a volunteer in the Technology, Security, and Transparency Working Group. And it's an honor and privilege to be up here moderating this session. With that, let me call upon the second speaker for this morning, Mr. Satish Babu. Mr. Satish Babu represents INAP ICANN for us.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. Can I have my slides, please? I'm Satish Babu, and I work with something called ICANN. I'm a volunteer with that. ICANN stands for the things. Internet Corporation on Assigned Names and Numbers. ICANN controls the domain name system, IP addresses, protocol parameters, and so on. And I'm going to talk about one initiative that we're doing in ICANN as a kind of multi-stakeholder, in a multi-stakeholder model. This is not going. Can you advance next? Yeah, so what is the need for a multilingual internet? Now, India is the #1 country now in terms of population. We also have, the internet is very central to our growth strategy. We also have one of the highest language diversities in the world, with about 22 official languages and 15 scripts. Now, in order to ensure inclusion of all our population, this big population of 1.4+ billion, we need to ensure that the internet works for all these languages, not just for English. Therefore, we need technologies, standards, and policies that make a multilingual internet possible and easy. Next. What? Can you advance there, please? Okay, now what are the building blocks for a multilingual internet? We have Unicode, which is at the foundation. Unicode is a single global standard for encoding any number of languages, even artificial languages. So currently it supports about 161 writing systems. We need policies on languages like collation order. Collation order is what is the alphabetical order for a non-English language? What determines that? Then we need IDNs, internationalized domain names. Names of domain names like google.com in English, we need in Hindi and in Tamil and all other languages. And we need something called universal acceptance, which is what I'll focus on in the next slides. We need input systems for keyboard, touch, voice, text editors, dictionaries, thesaurus, multilingual content, a lot of content. And today, in the time of ChatGPT, we need also corpora, text corpora. And finally, we need search engines and text-to-speech. The example given was that a blind girl gets a letter from the bank in English, and she doesn't know English. She should be able to scan it, OCR it, translate it, and hear it rendered as speech without any other intervention from anyone else. Next, please. So what are these internationalized domain names? Next. So you can see that in India, we have the highest number of internationalized domain names. These are actually top-level domains, .bharat, in multiple Indian languages. Even China, which is close to us in population, has much fewer IDNs than India. Next, please. So names like namaskar.bharat have been available since 2010, although not very popular. Right now, we are trying to popularize it. Internationalized email addresses. like Sampark at namaskar.bharat. Now, these things also have been available for some time now. But there is a problem that many websites, including our own IRCTC or Wikipedia, if you try to register an account using this email ID, it will say it is invalid. Although by protocol standards, it is perfectly valid. But it's just a matter, the fact that the software of these websites does not support these kind of domain names. So this is what is called so this makes IDNs and EAIs second-class citizens of the internet. So if I have only in Hindi or Tamil email ID, I'm not considered at par with a person who has got a Latin or English domain name and email ID. So this is a program called Universal Acceptance. It's a community-run, ICANN-supported program to ensure that all email IDs and domain names are universally accepted by all software, all sites. Next, please. So this is a volunteer work. It's been run by the ICANN community volunteers like me. Anybody can join it. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be part of ICANN. The work of the UA is done through multiple working groups like UA Tech, which I chair now. EAI's email address internationalization work group and measurement work group, etc. Now, the work that UA does is basically the mandate is to mitigate and remediate UA problems in websites, content management systems, programming languages, and libraries by working with the producers of these technologies, tech companies, open source communities, standards bodies, and directly commissioning code. We contract out and directly commission code. Next. In conclusion, UA is a real-world problem that needs real-world solutions. The ICANN community launched this program in order to ensure digital inclusion of everybody in 2015, and we have made progress in many platforms like Java, Python, PHP, and macOS. There is still a lot of work to be done in areas like HTML standards. Now, HTML defines an email ID. Unfortunately, this one does not cover data, does not get accommodated there. The first UA Day was a very successful community initiative. It was in March 28th. And this model of community-driven technical initiative would be valuable for other problems as well in the world. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and bye.
Thank you, Mr. Satish Babu. Next, I'd like to call upon Mr. Anshuman. He represents the ISAC Foundation. Mr. Anshuman Hazarika.
Namaskar. Hello, everyone. This is Anshuman Hazarika. I'm representing ISAC Foundation. So, So Information Sharing and Analysis Center, what is it? Basically, it is an organization which is primarily working on cybersecurity and cybercrime. Okay. We started back in 2009, and when the Mumbai attack happened, just after the Mumbai attack, we started this foundation, and we started working on different cybersecurity aspects that we are facing India as a country. Right? Next, please. Information Sharing and Analysis Center is a Section 8 non-profit foundation focused on cybersecurity. For over a decade, we have been working within this domain. Next. What are the notable collaborations that we have? We have collaborations with Ministry of Education, Government of India, Ministry of Defense, CERT-in, AICT, KDM, Karnataka, State Level Cybersecurity, ALEAP, Hyderabad Women in Cybersecurity, MDI, techno-managerial programs, RRU, SPA. So these are the few notable collaborations that we have with different organizations, different universities, and different government of state as well as government of India. Next, please. And what are the ISAC centers? So while we speak about ISAC can be divided into these four categories. That is National Security Database. That is it is a platform where we can identify all the credible and most notable cybersecurity experts in the country, recognized by Government of India. Then Secure, where smart infra standards is there. What is this basically? Now we have Alexa, turn on the lights, right? Alexa, turn off the lights. So all the houses or the buildings that are currently built up, they are all smart. And once there is the term smart, that is also can be hacked, right? So this secure exactly what it does, it will help the architect to build the building or the houses, whatever it is, in a way that is safe to live in by cyber way, right? Next is for Aero Aviation, Isaac Aero for Aviation Cybersecurity, that is aimed to secure over 300 plus airports in India on cybersecurity with emerging technologies. And then Isaac built think tank for environment, right? So we have this think tank where we can discuss different ideas, we can work on different ideas, we can start collaborating and start working with different organizations while on this, for this cybersecurity perspective, right? Next. Similarly, these are the incubations that we have. Cyber Engines, that is solely focused on cybersecurity simulation labs and SOC consulting. What is simulation labs basically? Just like we had physical labs for chemistry and physics back in class 11, 12 or degree sessions, right? So similarly, we have these internet labs where you can just log in. You can start a Kali attacker machine where you will be able to do different attacks and hacks. And then there will be also the victim machines where where the hack can be performed without having to fear of anything. You can do anything on those labs, and we have different courses that are approved by AICTE for these cyber simulation labs. Then next is COP Connect. I'll come to COP Connect after 2 or 3 minutes. Then is Breachpoint, that is private bug bounty platform and hackathon services. Like India doesn't have a proper bug bounty platform. Globally, we have different bug bounty platforms, right? Company-wise, we have different bug bounty platforms, but as a whole, one connected platform is not there. So we have this Breachpoint where different companies load their bug bounty informations, and they can update the information, and anyone and everyone from all over the globe can just participate in those bug bounty platforms, and they can get the rewards, right? Next is Clean Exit. So this is for the companies, like I'm working in a company A and you are working in company B. So you want to change your company from company B to company A. How I, as a head of HR or something like that, will know that you have good ethics, right? So for that, we have this Clean Exit program where specifically all the companies and organizations have loaded their employee details, and they can mismatch or they can match with the other person whether that is ethically right or wrong, or what information he has done or what things he has done, right? So this is for Clean Exit. Next, please. This is Center of Excellence. What is this? Basically, we have this physical lab setup where any university or an organization or a company can ask to set up this physical lab. Depending on the location, depending on the physical structures that you have on that particular area, we will create a full-fledged physical lab which simulates all the attack scenarios. Like you have airport, right? In airport, whatever the attacks that can be happen, right? So we can simulate that. We are simulating that when we have this, all these Isaac Center of Excellences, this Karnataka, Lucknow, Tamil Nadu. These are the Center of Excellences all along with globally where we have, you can see, Indonesia, South Africa, Singapore, Middle East, and USA. So these are the places where cybersecurity, these physical labs are there, where all the miniature places are there, all the miniature live mimics can be done, and live attacks can be done on these softwares. The softwares are real, only the infrastructure is compressed, right? So that is what Isaac Center of Excellence is. Next, please. We have recently find that world's first physical lab for aviation security. So what it does basically, how airports are designed, how airports can be hacked, how airline companies can be breached. So we, along with the physical lab solution, we are doing this physical lab for aviation security. Next, please. This is National Security Database. As we said, while on 2009 the attack happened, Mumbai attack happened, after that this was formed, National Security Database, where under Government of India, if we have your name within NSD, you will be able to perform for the Government of India or for different organizations or companies as a recognized cybersecurity professional. Now we have all the professional courses or professionals that are not particularly we can say reputed, right? So this is the place where you can be reputed, right? Next, please. This just shows the depiction of the process, how it started. Next, please. Next. 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 So this is the platform I was talking about, COP Connect. That is the platform which bridges the gap between the victims, cybercrime victims, and the law enforcement agencies, right? Next, please. COP Connect brings together a diverse yet powerful ecosystem for volunteers to help cybercrimes. Let's say I face a cybercrime, what can I do? I cannot directly go to the police and I cannot directly ask to help me because there are multiple layers of miscommunication, right? So what does this free tool do? You can just register yourself as a volunteer within this COP Connect platform, and whenever there is a cybercrime, this, by the way, this application is always free to use and always open source for everyone. So what you can do, you can just register here and you can ask the different cybersecurity experts, and they will be able to help you on a personal basis. Ki why it has happened, what you can do, how FIR can be formed, under which sections or laws your cybercrime finally falls, right? So this is the platform that it does. Next, please. COP Connect Cafe for one-to-one sensitive interactions. Let's say you don't want to share any information that is digitally, right? So you can connect to one of our COP Connect cafes where there are different experts, and you can discuss with him or discuss with her about the problem you are facing, about the issues you are facing, about the crime that recently has been happened to you, right? Easy 30-minute appointments, free guidance to victims, support in drafting FIR, police visits at COP Connect cafes, right? Next, please. Become a first responder or deploy COP Connect Cafe in your office premises. Why it is important? You can be trained to become a COP Connect responder or a volunteer, and you can literally save lives. We have seen the cases, we have seen the situations where it has happened, right? Next is 3-week training program on cybercrime intervention. It doesn't matter if you have technical skills or not. It doesn't matter you have the technical capability to solve that particular cybercrime technically or not. But even if you have that empathy, even if you have that legal procedure known to you, even if you have that psychological setup in your brain, then you can always be a part of this COP Connect program, right? And the training program is recognized by AICT or the government of India. So you can always get the benefits from it. Next, please. How you can help the foundation? Since we are always working in different projects, but this is the work that we do for free. Everyone is doing for free. So how you can do this? Sponsor the first responder training for teachers with as low as 5,000 rupees or something like that. And different, you can adopt a COP Connect Cafe in your location. That is also you can do. Or if you don't want to do anything, just download the iOS or the Android app that is available in the Play Store and the iOS Store. That is COP Connect. You can always search for that, and you will be getting the location-wise tech experts where you will be able to help, or you can get help. So I'd ask everyone to download and physically use that app, digitally use that app, so that everyone within the country can get benefited, right? I think that's all. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Anshuman. That was wonderful stuff. Just wanted to do a time check. We just have 20 minutes left in the session. As I mentioned at the beginning, we need to be downstairs by 10. Otherwise, security protocol, because of the governor's visit, is going to make things difficult for us, because we all want you to be part of the inaugural ceremony as well. We have 3 speakers left, so let me call the next speaker, Mr. Manoj Kumar. He's the AI Shield CEO by Bosch. Mr. Manoj Kumar, to the stage, please.
Good morning, and it's an honor and privilege to speak the wonderful audience like you. Can I have the slides, please? You have not received? Okay, my bad, sorry. Okay, so let me just start impromptu now. So, I'm Manoj. I work for the AI Shield. I'm a CEO and CTO, which is a startup of a Bosch, which works on securing the AI systems. So far in my journey, I have been a technologist, entrepreneur, and translator and shaper, which is the third part which interests and excites me today to share with you. I have been representing India on the ISO for blockchain and innovation-related topics, working closely with the NASSCOM onto the quantum task force, which resulted into the recent mission government approving of 6,500 crores. And I have worked with worldwide regulators and agencies on various aspects, including security, cybersecurity, AI, and now the newest one inside that, which is the cybersecurity of AI. I have worked with FDA, which is in the healthcare domain, ETSI, which is in the telecom domain, and very recently also with Data Science Council of India as well. At all of these places, the work that has really fascinated me is that understanding of technology and translating that particular technology for the policy framework. I see my role mainly as a person who has translated the technology for policies. The policies are set for masses, and there is always a problem of either overcompensating it or undercompensating it. Balancing a policy and with its realization within the technology controls and technology instruments is always a challenge we have seen. And cybersecurity was the biggest sufferer of that. We built in a websites, internet era, we forgot the security. Next time, we again build let's say the mass internet, we again forgot it. Mobile, we again forgot it. IoT, we again forgot it. There is a painful aspect from the technology point of view where some of the most critical aspects of a technology which gets forgotten. And this is my mission, to ensure that the policy folks don't forget this particular critical technology again and again and again. So this is a little bit about my work, and I have helped formulate the MITRE's newest threat attack vectors, which is on the artificial intelligence related topics. And I don't have a slide, but I had a very interesting use case to show that my work that resulted into some of the most important aspect during COVID, where in the COVID timeframe, we were all looking for technology to save us, right? Screening of healthcare data, screening of X-rays was one of the most important aspects. Some of the hospitals were using it across the world. What we realized is that in this enthusiasm to use it, there were many issues. We actually found a nation-state-sponsored attack on the healthcare system whose only job was to misclassify the diagnosis report. Imagine the consequences on the policy framework. Imagine the consequences onto the healthcare things. This was an eye-opener for all of us. And this also we brought to the many of the regulators onto the closed door, and they realize the kind of issues that can have. Now imagine you walk into the hospital, you hand over your chest X-ray, the AI system which is sitting there tells that you have a COVID. In reality, you never had a COVID. Attacker was manipulated that entire data. Nobody knew. And from this real cutting-edge technologies, which are making the technology accessible for all of us, and we are trying to relay the benefit or get the benefit of all of these aspects, we are missing certain risks. The holistic cost-benefit analysis is which is missed. And media, the policy folks, and a lot of other people who formulate the policies or regulations or guidelines or laws, they always rely on the secondary information so far, because their priorities are very different. And we have seen this happen in the Western world when the GDPR came in. It was a great privacy win, but it came at a huge cost of an innovation. Very few realizes that on the ground. The technology is simply making it inaccessible at many places. It was also the result that the UK, Brexit, there was a categorical line which has been said that we want to go out because we don't want to follow the GDPR. And the very next day, they go out and they say that the GDPR is no longer valid, and they create a newer system. So what happens is that the technology is becoming in a battleground for policies, for geopolitics, and a people and adversaries alike. It's a tool available for everyone. And we need to really put up in a policy grounds on that regulatory framework, and we have to do it proactively. So far, we have done reactively. This is the first time that we have to do proactively. Some of our successes includes that we were able to formulate and, let's say, go and influence some of the highest regulations. One of the first one which is coming, many of you know, is the European AI Act, which categorically says in Article 15, Clause 4, that the cybersecurity of AI is most important aspect for the high-risk system. This was one of our win that we got in. This time we have ensured that the security is at the forefront, or at least together, standing together, not behind. So this is one of the win that I wanted to share with all of you. And it also means that all the policymakers need to go into a dialogue with technologists. They need to understand the art of possible, separate the imaginations from the reality. It is very easy to write saying that please secure this. Imagine the cost of security. Imagine the kind of a talent that is needed to implement those particular things. Are we prepared for that? No. Holistic cost and risk benefit is something which is needed. And that is what we do here. So that's all from my side. Looking forward to have a wonderful session with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj Kumar, and apologies for missing the slides. So, I call upon Dr. Roshan Jose to come up and speak next. Dr. Roshan Jose represents the Save Life Foundation.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. Roshan Jose. I have a PhD in road safety from IIT, hence doctor, not the medical one. Save Life was established 15 years ago by our founder and CEO, Mr. Piyush Tiwari, after an unfortunate demise of one of his family members due to a road crash. At the time, he was working in US as an equity banker, and he left the job to establish the foundation. Next, please. The way we work, and in the interest of time, we basically work on two fronts. So we are best known for our work in establishing the Good Samaritan law, which basically protects you from any procedural, legal, or any kind of stays when it comes to helping a road crash victim. So we work on that front. We work on the right to emergency care, and we work on the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act from a policy side. But we also work grassroots. So we have the zero fatality corridors, where we try to create 60 to 100 kilometers of zero fatality corridors within states, so states can learn from them. We create the zero fatality district programs. We also undertake forensic crash investigation, and among the few organizations in the country who's able to do that. And we work largely with the community. Next. And to make our work possible, we have a few partners. On the first line are our government partners, including MORTH and Government of Maharashtra, Orissa, Delhi, and Uttar Pradesh. We are currently signed an MOU with Assam, and a few states are on their way. In the second line is our knowledge partners, which includes Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Weill Cornell. And in India, we have IIT Kharagpur, IIT Roorkee, and AIIMS. And the last two lines are our financial partners. Next. So the zero fatality corridor is basically a replicable model of road safety of about 100 kilometers. You can take and plug in from any state or any highway and plug into a next highway to get the thing. So what that basically means is no stopgap measures. I cannot place 100 police officers on the 100 kilometers on highway and then say, look, there are no fatalities for the 1 month, simply because I cannot replicate it for the rest of the country. Next. With our model, so far, we have been able to achieve a significant amount of reduction in fatalities. So 38% on the Yamuna Expressway, which connects Delhi to Agra, 52% on the Bombay-Pune Expressway over a period of 4 years. That's the one that connects the Bombay to Pune. And the old Bombay-Pune highway, which is the National Highway 48, a 61% reduction in fatalities. Next. So technology has played a very large role in what we do and how we do it. Next. The way we work. Next. The way we work is, of course, we build partnership, and then the most critical part is we understand the data. The data comes from the police FIRs. It comes from the road owning agency because of their response vehicles. It comes from ambulances, 108, 102 services. And then we take this data, which in many cases are fractured data, and we piece it together to understand what has happened on ground. Once we understand it, our team of experts go down for an on-site audit. So the auditors include road safety auditors. There are doctors who do the trauma care audits. There are enforcement experts who try to understand the enforcement level, and we have education audits also happening on site. And then we implement solutions. Once the solutions are implemented, we measure the impact, And our sole measurement of impact is how many fatalities have you been able to reduce. And then we replicate and scale it across the highway. And as of date, next please. As of date, we have done it for 16 states and 22 highways. It's a growing number, so I have to keep updating myself every week. So the way we do from a data point is we have to do a root cause analysis. For example, one of the things that we understood from Tamil Nadu, and it's a very good thing, is that in Tamil Nadu, people generally don't drink at home. It's not a very good thing. So they drink outside, and they drive drunk home, which is a very unique case to Tamil Nadu. If I explain the same problem to anyone in Maharashtra, they would be scratching their heads, thinking, what are you talking about? And the solution that we deploy, and the way we look at it, is whatever it takes. And we'll show you the whatever it takes in some time. And then, of course, we do the impact measurement. And we cannot do our own impact measurement because it doesn't make sense. We ask the police, and we take the FIR data as our impact measurement tool. Next. So what do we do? Our first one is a root cause analysis, which is a big data analysis. The big data actually pinpoints to particular locations what we're supposed to look at, who, why, where, when, and what happened to create this series of crashes that is making it a big thing. And of course, we have a team of data scientists who help us in that. Next, please. We use modeling softwares. So every major crash that has happened in the country, we move and we investigate it. We understand what has happened to the crash. We simulate that model out. The physics of the crash has to match the physics of the simulation. Then we have a fair understanding of what exactly is happening, and some missing information comes to light. We use data for that. Next, please. And of course, sometimes our solution involves putting up speed cameras, and our speed cameras are capable of looking into the vehicle like you can see in the image. They look in, and you can see the guy is actually texting and driving. So we are able to recognize that you are actually testing and driving, or you are not even wearing your seat belts. And then we are able to issue you, well, punitive measures to make sure that such measures are not repeated again. Next. And of course, in one of the things that what we needed was that we had about 40% of our crashes because of rear-end vehicles. And the way we looked at it was, you cannot, how many police can you deploy? Can you take data and AI to take it up? So we put drone in the sky. The drone is able to detect a parked or a stopped vehicle. It's able to say, okay, this is a parked vehicle, here's a number, relay the message out to the operators, and then they will ask the vehicle to move. The drone can actually come down to the driver level on the far side and make an announcement saying that this vehicle, you're parked in the wrong, please move. If the vehicle is unable to move because it's actually, there's a mechanical issue, then a rescue team is then immediately sent forward for that. Next, please. And of course, we have also worked on optimized placement of ambulances. So in Delhi, during the peak COVID time, the response of the ambulances were about 55 minutes. Simply by optimizing the placement of ambulances and the number of ambulances in each of the districts, we were able to reduce it down to 20 minutes. We were able to reduce the handover time from 268 minutes to 160. A handover time is the moment the operator gets the call, from that time till when the ambulance is released for the next call. So pick up the patient, drop the patient in the hospital, sanitize the vehicle, and then be available for the next call. We brought that down to about 160 minutes. This is in spite of the COVID rush that was happening in the hospitals. And of course, there was a 270% increase in number of ambulances simply because we were able to kind of predict that you're going to have an increase coming up. This is what the trend says to you. You need to be prepared for that. At that time, Delhi government then activated Ola, Uber, and other services to act as vehicles in these cases. Next, please. And of course, we did have our apps, and apps are always a part of the game, where we were able to then map out our corridors to say, here are the fatalities, and the moment you're going to go through a crash-prone location, you get an alert saying, hey, you're going through a crash-prone location, be alert. Next, please. And of course, we have also used the AI cameras to detect in our tactical urbanism projects, where we do tactical urbanism redesign of intersections. And then we were able to then monitor how vehicles move, how the pedestrians move, to measure conflict, to measure the trajectory, and to measure the kind of potential conflict that might interact to find out the way, to find out the level of interaction that might be there between the vulnerable road user and the motorized road user, so that we can say that we can bring down the crashes. In some of our cases, we have been able to bring down that level of interaction down from 160 minutes down to about 6 minutes. Next, please. I would love to open it for questions, but I know that we have a shortage of time. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jose. I call upon the last speaker for this session, Mr. Lolichan, who represents UNICEF, and he's going to present his thoughts.
Good morning, friends. I'm not a very technologically savvy person, so you see a piece of paper with me as part of the old tradition. I represent the UN, United Nations, specifically part of the UNICEF family. So I take you to connect technology with children. That's my mission. I'm not here to specifically talk about best practices, but I will lay the ground for my post-lunch session and lay some kind of evidence as to how children are affected by the digital era. UNICEF works on all sectors with regard to protection, development and empowerment of children and adolescents, including their health, nutrition, education, water sanitation, climate change, social policy for children, and risk management and reduction. In the specific area of children's protection, we've been moving into the area of cyber safety, online safety for children in the last 5 to 6 years. In fact, one of our global report, which UNICEF comes out every year with, in 2018, we focused on digital safety for children. Now, going specifically to cyber safety, India in the recent years, many of you already spoke about it in bits and pieces, but going specifically into that, have seen a rapid expansion in digital technologies with close to 500 million internet users. As per the IMI and Nielsen report of 2019, 2/3 of the internet users in India are in the age group of 12 to 29. And this age group corresponds to more than 70% of the internet users in rural India. So it's a big, big number. We're all aware of the immense possibilities of internet that opens up for children, adolescents, and youth. It opens doors for information sharing, stimulation, cross-fertilization, knowledge exchange, communication, networking, their own participation in various fora, career counseling, career development, their employment, and so on. Therefore, protecting children from cyber risks, the solution is not to keep them away from the internet, but to empower them as to use this effectively. Children and young people have been able to use social media platforms very powerfully. To illustrate with an example, UNICEF has a large partnership with National Service Scheme, the NSS, and NSS you have across the country. Just to pick up one example from Madhya Pradesh, we have been able to mobilize about 3 lakh young people to use social media platforms to address issues of violence against children, gender-based violence, child marriage, and such issues which are concerns of child protection. And these 3 lakh young people have been able to use various materials and modules within the social media platforms to reach out to almost 60 lakh young people, their peers in universities and colleges, through their through their campus to community outreach program, and have been a great success in terms of reaching out to prevent some of these issues. In spite of the rapid internet penetration in India, there is a persistent divide which will continue to hold back certain gender groups and certain social groups. According to NFHS 5, the National Family Health Survey 5, 57% males had reported ever using internet compared to just 33.3% of females. So you see the gender divide. The divide in rural population is even starker, with 48.7% of men compared to 24.6% women, just half. having ever used internet, compared to 72.5 and 51.8% of women in urban areas. So you clearly see a gender-based divide and an urban-rural divide in terms of digital access and its use and for their own empowerment and education. This further indicates that the poor and the marginalized sections, especially those in remotest areas, in the northern India or in the southern India, you take tribal pockets or far-flung areas, there isn't either electricity or reach of internet. This indeed is a matter of concern for us, this audience, from the point of view of policy actions and implementation at the ground level. Now, coming back to children's lives, there are also risks, online risks that are associated, which includes exploitation, sexual exploitation, grooming, cyberbullying, etc., to mention a few. Give me 1 second, 1 minute more. The McAfee report of 2022, which is titled Cyberbullying in Plain Sight, it points out that cyberbullying reaches alarming highs as more than 1 in 3 children up to age of 18 face cyber racism, cyberbullying, and cyber sexual harassment. This is for children up to the age of 18, and this data also says that India is #1 nation when it comes to such abuse of children, cyberbullying globally. Research also indicates, now this is more interesting, that India accounts for 12% of the CSAM, that is child sexual abuse materials, that are uploaded. Now we have 193 countries. Of that, we upload about 12% of CSAM materials globally. I conclude here, and I can see Mr. Ram waiting here. I'll continue this discussion in the post-lunch session so that I'll get into the area of recommendations. I don't want to give trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lolishan, but he gave a wonderful primer for you all to attend the afternoon session so that you can hear more about this. It's fascinating. That was the last speaker. I just have one announcement before I close. All the students who are seated in this hall, you are kindly requested to stay seated in this hall only, please. After I'm done with my closing comments, the ushers will usher the guests, the speakers downstairs for the inaugural function, but all the students who are in this hall, kindly remain seated in this hall only, please, for the inaugural function. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you found the Udhaharan presentation cases very insightful and informative. I mean, it was fascinating. I truly, honestly wish we had more time because each case was absolutely fantastic. Our esteemed panelists did a great job of sharing these use cases and best practices that illustrated how technology can be leveraged to overcome some of the most daunting issues and challenges of today's society. We hope that these presentations not only provided valuable insights, but also inspired creative thinking amongst everybody here today. We invite you to continue engaging with our speakers and with each other and the rest of the summit and beyond as we come together to create a much safer and secure digital world. So thank you very much for your participation. Now, before I close, I just want to mention that on behalf of the Technology and Security and Transparency Working Group, I thank all the panelists today, all the speakers today, and in our appreciation of their efforts and their time, we want to offer them a token of our appreciation as a gift, which I'll come down and do. Once that is done, they will be escorted downstairs by the ushers. Thank you very much again for your time this morning. As I mentioned again, the students, please remain seated here. Thank you very much, everybody.